Hey y'all, this is Devin, the romantic traveler, back for episode 7. Welcome. And this week, well, actually, before we get into this week, I just want to acknowledge it is February in the depth of winter, and it's like 90 degrees outside. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I also got a haircut to mark the occasion because I was starting to look a little bit like the Joker from Batman fame. That was time for a change. And so, welcome. As many of you know, we talk about love and relationships and leading a better life. And of course, travel. So this week we're going to talk about the idea of having skin in the game in order to make major changes in your life. So we're going to get to that in just a few minutes, but first I want to answer a burning question which comes to us from Angela, who writes, how do you create a magnificent, trusting, intimate relationship without fear of what if? How to achieve just knowing and feeling at all times truly happy and safe in a relationship? Thank you. Thank you, Angela. I think that's a great question. And I think that's ultimately the goal for anybody who is looking to be in a long-term relationship, is to find contentment and peace and ultimately love. What I recommend is understanding that relationships do this. They go up and down. And I think they're supposed to. As somebody such as myself, who has studied the mysteries in Kabbalah for many, many years, can attest that in order to have sort of like free will and choice, there has to be obstacles. In other words, to will towards good, to find happiness, and to strive for peace and love, there has to be hiccups all along the way. There has to be obstacles. And so you have to choose constantly to love the person you're with, even though there will be all kinds of things standing in your way. Not always. I mean, I think there are states of grace that we have in relationships in our personal life on a fairly regular basis. But there's going to be a moment of jealousy. There's going to be a moment of financial insecurity. There is going to be some moments where you may be compelled to at least look at another person who looks cute walking by. There's going to be all kinds of things that are going to come up during the course of that relationship. And really the goal is, in each one of those instances, is that you give love, and you give that love freely. Like if that person that you are with is in some state of fear and you know that, I highly recommend being present for that and being supportive for that, especially when you don't want to. It is at that moment when you get to have choices. When you're stuck in the middle of the fear and the anxiety because somebody else did something, your significant other did something that was kind of weird, and something that puts you in a state, it's that moment that you get to go, okay, wait, time out. Why am I in this relationship, and why do I love this person? And when the answers are consistently because they're on my team and they're on my side, and we get to go through this adventure together, and I love them, and I think they're cute, then the answer is always yes. We always want to strive forward to keep that light in our heart. And when we do so, I would argue, and so would the history of Kabbalah, that when you continually do that, not only do you change yourself, but you change the world. So focus your efforts on being supportive to the person that you love, even though you think you don't want to, because those little obstacles are put in there by the universe on purpose, and they're supposed to be there. And by the way, if you do not believe in sort of the universe, as it were, if you don't believe in God or some variation thereof, think of it in terms of your own higher self. Because personally, I have gone through periods where I'm, definitely like, yeah, it's all about God, and then there's some days where it's like, oh, this is just some BS. And it's not real. And if you're that person, think about it in terms of what your highest nobility is about, and what do you really want in your heart. Most of us, for many, many, many conversations on the subject, tend to will towards good. They want to do good things. They want to be loved, or pardon me, they want to love others. They want to be supportive. But then we come up in little quiet moments of reasons why we should not. So if whether you are a believer in the divine or whether you think we're all a bunch of happenstance who happens to believe in good things in general, then I would absolutely provide love when you don't think you should. I would provide support when you don't want to, especially when there's obstacles in the way. Anyway, Angela, thank you for a wonderful question, and absolutely reach out to me and send me your questions, your burning love questions, or anything else for that matter, at devongallaudet.com. And I'll look forward to answering your question real soon. So this week's thought has to do with the notion of having skin in the game. What does that mean, especially when we're talking about change? That means there needs to be something on the line for you. If you are a person such as myself, who is constantly looking to explore the nature and power of their being, you, like myself, you get mentors, you get coaches, and you read probably a ton of spiritually based books, because I think in terms of different religions and different studies and philosophies are really sort of different facets on the same gem. And so that might be reason enough for you. But even for me, sometimes pain is a great motivator. So when the great motivator shows up, that's when I'm most likely to make some change. And it's usually not a little pain, because frequently when I have a little bit of pain, I don't really want to, if I have a toothache, I can be uncomfortable for a little while, but there's going to be a point where that tooth breaks or a nerve gets exposed or something like that, and the pain is too hard to ignore. That's when the change comes in, or that's when the willingness to change comes in. And again, so that pain motivation is one way to look at it. But another way to look at it is, and this is what frequently happens when people who are looking for coaches and mentors, is that it costs money. And the skin in the game is this: having a problem, and I offer you a piece of advice. If you're not in real pain, in a place to explore real motivation to change, there's nothing in it for you. It's easy to discount the advice when you've got nothing in it. However, if you have a coach or somebody who's on your team, and that team member costs money to get the job done or help you get put into the place that you want to be quite frank with you, spending money in this place is a very, very good energy exchange. If you have, let's say, $30 in the results of something, if you lose the $30, it's almost like, getting the advice for free. But if you spend $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 and upwards, and some coaches are very, very expensive, you are invested. You are emotionally invested in getting your money's worth for a couple of reasons. Not only do you want to get the return on the investment, you want to see the change that you're going to get, but you don't want to feel like a fool for spending a bunch of money and then ignoring the situation. So think about your change, because at some point you're going to make New Year's resolutions, or you're going to be looking at some problem areas in your life that you're going to want to change. And you have to think about, is the pain going to be enough? Do I need additional support? And what does that look like? So just remember, the more pain that you're in, especially if you're sitting home right now and things look bleak, this is a perfect opportunity to really go after something different in your life. If you need extra support, then look into coaching. That is something that I do. And again, I think that's what I got for this week. And many blessings. Oh, and finally, completely shifting the subject. Next week, I was going to do it this week, but I did not send out my newsletter because I'm terrible at this whole newsletter thing. I'm going to send out my newsletter to remind you and give you a link for next week, where we may be able to do this live, and we'll probably do this for a longer period of time to hit a few questions and say hello to each other in a live way. So until next time, thank you so much for your time. This is Devon Gallaudet, the Romantic Traveler, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much for watching.